Hey, this is Phil Yanov with the Tech After 5 podcast. So you're thinking about writing a book. Let me tell you, I've thought about it too. And in fact, my friend and co-host, Scott Pfeiffer here, he has thought about it as well. And what's most interesting to me is that something has recently changed his thinking about it and maybe even spurred him to action. And I'm intrigued. I thought you might be intrigued. And so that's why we're talking about it today. So, wasn't it Seneca? It might have been Socrates. Sorry to mess these guys up, but one of them said, wise men write books. I mean, it seems like the right kind of thing we ought to be doing. It seems like, a book allows you to transcend time and place, right? I mean, it allows people access to your thinking, even when they're not in the room with you. It's a way for them to kind of get access to what is on your mind across time, right? And thinking about both Seneca and Socrates, right? We are thinking and considering their ideas thousands of years later. So there must be some value in it. And if those wise guys said it, I think these wise guys ought to be talking about it. This is my friend, Scott Pfeiffer. Hey, Scott.
Hey, Phil. It's always great to be here with you, buddy.
Yeah. I'm glad that you think about it that way, because that's the way I think about it. But I am super intrigued because it was you who just 2 weeks ago, I guess, told me, said, hey, you know what? I came across something and it just changed my idea. So basically, first off, if we're telling a bridging story, let's tell a little bit of a bridging story, because you and I are both in the same kind of place, or have been in the same kind of place, where we thought, you know what, I had to write a book. And then you would noodle at it for a while and then not write the book. And then we probably have pages of notes. I certainly do. I think you probably even more so. I know that one of my issues is I'm more of a talker than a writer. So my thing is, it's super easy for me to have a whole pile of conversations, record these podcasts. That's been the way that I've done the thing out in the world. But crystallizing that requires a little bit of different kind of thing that I do sometimes, but not others. So this whole thing has intrigued me because I think there are a couple of things I would like to get about. So I am here to pull inspiration from you. So first off, let's start. I got that right? You have noodled at this for a while without actually taking a lot of action on it.
Yeah. Since 2015, probably, I've really been interested in writing a book. I have started and not finished, but have significant numbers of words into at least 3, maybe 4 books as I get different ideas. And I write parts of it, but it's always bogged down, and I've never finished until hopefully first quarter of 2021. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's still back in that back piece, because I want people to understand and see themselves in this story, because I certainly see myself in that, right? You're thinking, you start, here we are, we're excited, we start a thing, and then it kind of bogs down. What do you think is happening in that process that causes you not to finish it?
Well, I was looking on it as such a large project. I was looking at the big business books that are out there. And I was thinking, 80,000 to 100,000 words, something, a big, hefty kind of good to great size hardcover business book. And I would start by making an outline, which I think is a great first step. And then I would just start plugging in text into the outline. And I just found that I am a succinct writer, and generating 80,000 words. I had parts I couldn't finish. I ran out of things to say. I just couldn't do it. It just became too big of a task, and I would set it aside.
So I'm just going to dive in. Because you're a good thinker, and I feel like you're a good writer too. You and I have tossed stuff that we've both written back and forth, and I always feel like I might be reading a first draft, but the thinking is good. We might play with the words, but the thinking is good. Let's get this to where we want it to be, right? But in your head, why would you stop? There's, again, I think it's too big. Is there anything else inside of you? Are there other stories that you might have had inside your head that kept you from getting to the end?
I think that we all have resistance. right? And as you write, especially if you're writing something that you think is going to be published to a lot of people, you think, why me? Who's going to read this? Why would they care? What are they going to think about me? Is this useful use of my time? Blah, blah, blah. And then, of course, you get busy. Things are going well and you're super busy, and taking time off of your busy schedule to keep working on it. I think with an 80,000 to 100,000 or 120,000 word book, you're giving resistance an awful lot of time to jump on your back. And
he can change his attacks, right? One day he's like here, and the next day he's over there.
Multiple avenues of approach. Yeah. I mean, it just, for me, I found that to be insurmountable. Now, I know other people that have cranked out some books that big. And of course, one of the big resistances to me in writing that big book is once my succinct thoughts on the subject were out and I'm trying to put in filler, the resistance just gets worse and worse, because now I'm like, well, this is just garbage.
Yeah. So I think that's certainly it, right? One of the stories is I get into this, I'm excited about it at the beginning, but then the thing is big and I go, I don't know about that. And then maybe it was, I'm going to use this thing to generate more business, but right now I've got all the business I really need. So why bother finishing it there? Yeah. And then I heard another story inside there, and I'm just going to pull it out. It might not have been a real significant one for you, but it's certainly one I've heard before, which is you kind of start with the idea, I'm going to write this book. And then you go, well, who would read this? It's like, I mean, and if I don't have a bunch of people pat me on the back every day saying that's genius work, and I really need more of that. I mean, I might not have the energy I need to continue forward, because the thing is, I mean, writing a book can take a while, right? I mean, there is effort in there. And the thing is, I mean, the people who have been through this know that a good book is not really written once. You write it once and then someone goes through that with a draft with you. I mean, people are helping you and you're getting other ideas. And then other folks may say, well, wait a second, this doesn't quite make sense. And you might want to rearrange this or that. So there's multiple passes in this, because in the end, you want your ideas to be something that are ready to be digested by an audience, right?
That's right. I mean, I had a professor one time that told me, and I think I don't think they made it up. I think it's something people say, but they told me, it stuck with me when this person said it, which was, there is no good writing. There's only good rewriting. Right. And that's always, I've always thought about that. When I write for money, I always like to have an editor. That's my preferred way of working, is that I'm going to write a draft and the editor's going to fix it, maybe send it back with notes, maybe just fix it. But, right. I always think that having a tandem or a team is very helpful. So right now I'm trying to get a first draft done so that I can get it out to some people who can read it and tell me, is it clear? What parts didn't make sense? What parts are too repetitive and too long? What do I need to add? What did I miss? So I'm looking forward to that part of the process. I think that part of the process, which is collaborative, will be easier because it'll be interesting. Yeah. Right. I think that might well be the case, right? So here's the thing. You are further along than you've ever been in any of your projects before, because somebody else's thinking got into your head and changed your mind about the task. So talk to us a little bit about that. Yeah. So I was just perusing Twitter one morning, I guess, and came across somebody I follow who writes books, teaches classes about writing books. And they said, they had a little post or whatever that I clicked through Twitter and read. And it was about, don't try to write one of these big 80,000 word business books. They're mostly full of filler anyway. His idea was, you're much better off writing 4 15,000 word books or 20,000 word books than one 120,000 word book. They're shorter. You have more things on Amazon to sell. And you can keep them tight. You don't have to feel like you need a lot of fluff in there to add page count. You can keep them real helpful and succinct and tight. And that is more me and sort of immediately appealed to me. Yeah. Well, I certainly have heard it said that most business books could be, all their core ideas would fit on 5 pages, right? And we've seen there's a whole industry around people who just write shorter versions of bigger books, and then people go read the short version of those books, right? There's a whole pile of things out there. But
We like the idea of you, Scott Pfeiffer, being the original author of some synthesis of ideas, things that you have brought together. You're well read. You've thought about these things deeply. It's a chance for you to expose what you are thinking. And one of the blocks was, oh my God, I don't want to come up with 60,000 words, or I think that's just too much. And quite frankly, it's quite probably a service to the reader for you to say, listen, there's stuff we got to do, but I'm going to get to the point of this thing so that you can go take action on it.
Yeah. And there's been a lot of different strands that have woven through that ended up in that eureka moment. But now that it's here, I can go back and see them and pull them out. Like one of them was when Henry was telling us, I like these books about philosophy. But is there like more of a how-to guide? And you, of course, recommended Field Guide to a Happy Life, which I recently read. So I think that was kind of back in there, a short, really action-oriented how-to book, right? Boom. Very well written. And then there's some books that we've always enjoyed, which are just like this, short, 15 to 20,000 words, totally action-oriented or idea-oriented. And that would be all of the
Pressfield books, yeah.
Pressfield
right.
books.
I was just guessing that's where you're headed, but it's books that we have loved that were like right on point. Every page is quotable in those things, it feels like.
Exactly. So once I read that, of course, immediately thought of the Pressfield books. And what I did was I went and got one of the Pressfield books, War of Art, and I went and did a Google Doc, and I sized the page exactly the same size as Pressfield's book. I tried to look to see what font he used. Sometimes in a book, people say, hey, this is the font I use. Couldn't find that. Couldn't find online anywhere, but I went and did some research on what fonts people like for business books, put the fonts in, put the header size in, and then I just went through his book and I laid it out. Okay, he has a title page. He has a this page. He has a that page. He has this. Here's how he did it. And so that was sort of like my go-by guide for the layout of the thing. So now I have it laid out like that. I can see what it looks like on the page. And I did the way I normally do it. I did an outline.
Right.
And now I can write sort of one chapter at a time. And what I'm doing is I'm writing a chapter, write another chapter, write another chapter. Then I'll go back and rewrite a chapter, and I'll rewrite it again. So I'm doing probably 3 or 4 rewrites of each chapter as I go, and just trying to add helpful things and make it more action oriented with each rewrite. Here's why, here's how kind of thing.
Right. No, I think that's great. I mean, things that you needed to move you forward. So, so where are you on that journey so far? Like I said, I think I've heard you say that you're further along than you've ever been. How far are you now?
I'm probably about 11,000 words into what I hope is going to be 15 to 18,000. I've got a couple of sections I need to do the first draft on. My next project, which I have, what I'll do is I'll go in and I'll decide, am I going to write a section? What do I feel? What's kind of buzzing around in my brain?
Right.
And so sometimes I'll write a new section. Sometimes I'll rewrite a section. But I try to just pick one thing each. No, I'm not writing every day, but I'm writing a couple of times a week. And so right now I'm going to rewrite the section on keeping good business records. And so I went into the major document. I took what I have, I put it in a separate Word, and it's up on my computer. And when I get the time and everything together, I'm going to sit down and spend an hour or two and rewrite that section again, and then plug it back into the master document. So that's kind of the idea. Then once I have the full thing written, where I've gone through several drafts and I kind of like it, it'll be time to send it out to folks like you, and Richard Bliss has offered to read it for me, and probably get a couple other people and ask, what doesn't make sense, what needs expanded on, what's too repetitive, and what did I miss? What can I add? Right.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Then I've recruited Henry and Claire to help. Henry is helping with the layout. I've got some diagrams and things like that he's going to help me. He's better at that stuff than I am. So I I draw them out on a piece of paper and send them to him, and he creates them and sends them back to me to plug in. And then Claire has actually been working on Richard Bliss's new book, helping him. And so she's, thank you, Richard. Appreciate you teaching Claire how to do all this. She's going to help me with all the information, all the stuff that she learned from him. But Amazon's got some great new tools where you can publish on Kindle and in paperback, print on demand, sort of in the same wave. So we're probably going to do that. And I'll probably get Henry to do the cover art for me. So it'll be a Pfeiffer team event.
Yeah, well, having some talented allies, that's always helpful, right?
Maybe that's what I've been waiting for the last 5 years was my kids to grow up and acquire skills so they could help me.
Yeah, the ones I need. So you got a team. Well, yeah. So, but the thing is, it was a thing. I mean, there's all of that bit, right? But you'd have gone and found that at some point eventually. But the thing of you, the you part is the most important piece of this. Whereas you have to, I want to say commit, but it was something else. Something had to change about what you saw yourself doing with your day that says, I'm going to reach in and I'm going to create these pages, right? I'm going to go do these things. And, it makes me think a little bit. I mean, of course, we all know people who write like machines, right? I mean, we know that, having read through all the Pressfield books, he describes his routines. I mean, that Stephen Pressfield, War of Art, do it. I mean, he's several of this we have talked about over time, but in those, he has just laid out his material and said, this is the way we work. Don't wait for the muse, go to the muse, do that kind of stuff. So those things have changed for you. You decided to, one of his mechanisms was be professional, right? Stop being an amateur. Turning Pro was the name of that book, right? But kind of pull that. I think of another guy who is in our circle a little bit. I mean, just folks we've talked about, Ryan Holiday, his whole thing is he says he writes 2 pages a day. All I need to do is turn out 2 pages a day. He said, now if I turn out 2 pages a day, I know I will get to the end. And then the rewrite for him, he said, is not nearly as painful as it was staring at the blank page. Those are my words, not his, but he's talked about his process at the end of one of his other books. So his things, just get out 2 pages a day. So you got into that mode. So for you, it sounds to me like the big takeaway from your reading, the thing that was transformational for you, and we've tried this a bunch of times, right? But a thing that was transformational was you realized that the obstacle wasn't what you thought it was. It wasn't an 80,000 word book. It's a 20,000 word book or something like that.
Yeah, for me, that was the key, right? I mean, so I have reasons I want to write a book. It helps me clarify my thinking. I can reach a larger audience. It can be a serve as sort of the text or background material for a mastermind. And so the fact that you and I are launching a mastermind on a related topic to this kind of spurred me on. But if you're going to write a book to be your calling card or to reach people, and you're not expecting it to make, I'm not expecting this to make money, a lot of money. It may make a little money, but it's not going to make a lot of money. If you're going to do that, how much time can you put into a project that's just background, basically, right? And if it's an 80 to 120,000 word book, that's a lot of opportunity cost sunk into one asset. That's not a revenue generating asset.
Yeah.
Per se. Certainly not for the amount of time you're going to spend. Whereas with a 15, 20,000 word book, there's a lot less opportunity cost, right?
Well, there's certainly that. And the thing is, it allows you to get to the done state quicker. And it allows you to, if you're going to run multiple experiments, if you said, look, I don't think this is the last book I'm ever going to write. I just need it to be the first book I ever write. And I need it to get done.
That's right.
And so I needed to move the barriers around, move the goals around in such a place that I can get this done. And I am changing my mind. It's like, I cannot use as a go-to plan or as a go-by plan. What does it take to create a New York Times bestseller? Because that really wasn't my goal. My goal was to crystallize my thinking. I'm not trying to write a bestseller. I'm trying to write a really good thinker so that it can communicate those good thinking ideas to other people, right?
That's exactly right. And, it helps me in my consulting practice. I can help 4 companies at a time, maybe.
Right.
With the book, maybe I can help a lot more people.
Right. Yeah.
So that's attractive to me.
Right. So I think that is a good key idea, that there is a different way to go about creating a book. And the thing is, if you want to go write a New York Times bestseller, guess what? There are plans and patterns for doing that kind of stuff. It's not that results are assured, but there are plans and patterns for doing that. And that is a different path. Sure. But if you want to crystallize your thinking into a place where you can pull it together, get it to where you understand it, a reader can understand it on their first pass, right? And then go apply those ideas in their lives or business, then that's a different set of materials altogether. That's a bit of training that you need to do and a different exercise. And you'll end up with a different product, one of which can be super valid, super valuable to you.
Yeah. And I will say, the proto books that I've worked on since 2015, that's not been useless time. Creating those books, doing the outlines, writing the sections I've written have crystallized my thinking and made me a better consultant in every one of the areas where I've worked on those things. Because writing a book is like teaching someone something. You have to understand it. When I was in graduate school, we had a small group where we helped each other. And I would find that there might be a topic, you think you know it, but then you try to explain it to somebody else and you realize there are holes in your thinking that you didn't even know existed. And you have to crystallize. And same thing with this, right? As you write it down and you're like, well, that doesn't quite make sense. Or what about this part? And you just get better and better at it. So it is a valuable exercise in and of itself, I think.
Yeah. No, something to be learned at every way. And you've got the credit for that by having all that knowledge inside your head, right? Mm-hmm. As we kind of take this and sort of lay these ideas out for someone else to apply to their process, the obstacle is not what you think it is. The stories you're telling yourself are probably not serving you towards getting this done. And as we always believe that there is, people need you. It is time for you to go build your campfire. And if you think that a book is one of those central pieces around which you can build a campfire and people can come to your way of thinking, again, it allows you to build it across time and space in a way almost nothing else does, right? This allows people access to your thinking while you sleep. This allows people access to your thinking in a way that they can deep think about what you're doing, right? It's not just passing through. It's not them just listening as they go in the car. It's them being able to take it page by page and flip back and forth. And I don't care whether that's Kindle or paper, that's up to you. But they can flip back and forth. They can take notes. They can take highlights. They can share it with other people if that's what they want to do. But this can be done. And one of the ways is to move what you think that goal is. And then, as you are doing, you've created an understandable plan for yourself. You know what the next step is for where you are. In fact, you probably know it for each step of the way, but there's no reason for you in this moment to go, well, I have no idea what to do next. And this is why I got stuck. You do know what to do next.
That's right. And, for me, with resistance being such a big part of why I failed on those other books, shortening into a smaller task is almost like getting through hell before the devil knows you're there, right? Right.
Yeah, I like that idea. Before he knows you're there. Excellent. The idea, though, it's right. It's to get to heaven. May you be in heaven before the devil knows you're dead. Yeah, may your soul be in heaven before the devil knows you're dead. Is that old Irish saying? But yeah, it's poof. You just passed right by it. Very good for you.
Yeah.
All right. I hope that I'm hoping that we're delivering something that people can use for themselves, right? A set of plans, some ideas that they can understand that this obstacle might be different. And, we're probably a little bit early for us to tell them the title of your book and how to go get it. We can come to that later. But the fact is that we're able to go ahead and you can join us as we talk about what your journey is in this, and maybe you'll have a journey of your own. And we'd love to hear, what you're working on. I certainly have friends who've written books, and I think there's an opportunity for other folks to take their thinking and put it out for the world to participate in. So thank you for sharing this, and I hope this is useful to the audience. They can go off and try this for themselves.
Yeah, I hope so too.
All right, let's wrap this thing up. Scott, they can't get your book yet, but they can find you online. Like you said, you're not taking a bunch of new clients, but if someone really, really needed you, maybe they could talk you into it. How would they start that conversation?
Yeah, so I'm full up on consulting clients at the moment, but I am doing 1 and 2 day strategic planning retreats for companies. So you can I can help you with that. I can help you with partnership planning. One-off kind of things like that. I have some good ideas around how to build an effective partnership.
Yeah.
Phil and I are going to start an entrepreneur's mastermind. So if you're a tech entrepreneur and that's interesting to you, you can reach out with that. But you can find me at strategybusinessconsulting@gmail.com. And you can find me on LinkedIn where I'm Scott Pfeiffer. And you can often find me at Tech After 5 Greenville.
Great. Well, so all of those ways, Scott kind of, you can find Scott in all those ways. And certainly you can find us or connect with us through Tech After 5. Now, what does that mean? You can attend one of our events, which right now are all on Zoom calls. So guess what? We can bring real live connections, quality stuff, energetic, exciting, fun event right to your desk, right? All you got to do is sit down and launch the call and hang out with us. And we do those for every city, and we've got some other stuff as well. So come hang out with us, and you do that at techafter5.com or TA and the figure 5.com. Come join us, and then you can find out about that. And you can, of course, you're already listening to the podcast or you're watching it, either one, and find out a bunch of the other stuff that we've got going on, including some of our new training and our new masterminds and our old masterminds. So there's ways for you to join with us in a bunch of ways, but start that by coming and finding out about us at techafter5.com. I'm Phil Yanov. We'll see you next time.